Hi, today I'm going to talk about worrying, and I'm going to talk about 3 things that you can do to stop yourself from worrying if that's what you're struggling with. Whether you're a part-time or a full-time worrier, these 3 things are going to help you. So first of all, I thought I'd just talk a little bit about what worrying is. Worrying is a habit of the mind where it's compulsively thinking about what is the worst thing that can happen. So it may be that you're going on a holiday and you're worrying that the plane is going to crash. Or you might have an event coming up where you have to stand in front of people and you're going to be worrying about something silly that you're going to do, that people are going to laugh at you. Or you may be worrying about what people think of you generally. And it's like your mind is just compulsively thinking, what is the worst case scenario? What is the most negative way I can think about something that's coming up, something that's happened? It's as though your mind feels that it's protecting you, that it's keeping you safe. If it thinks of all of the worst things that can happen, those things won't happen. Or by worrying about what are the worst things that can happen, that at least you'll be prepared if they do. But this is a myth, because worrying does not keep you safe. What worrying does do is keeps you small, stops you from taking on challenges, it keeps you miserable, it sucks the joy out of your life. So it's a really, really good thing if you can just take control of that worrying habit. And it's a habit, and you can change habits, right? So the first thing, and this is a really important foundational technique to gaining control over what your mind is doing, whatever that may be, okay? So the first thing to do is to learn to press the pause button. Now you can imagine that there is an actual button if you want, or you can just say to yourself, okay, right now, I've caught myself worrying, I'm going to press that pause button. And what that pause button is going to do is going to give you 1 minute where you stop worrying, where you focus your mind instead on being here in the present moment, right now. You're going to focus on your breathing again. So take a deep breath and just be here with that breath right now, where everything is okay and you are perfectly safe. And you're going to time yourself 1 minute to stay with that thought. Everything right here, right now is okay. And I am perfectly safe. Now what you're doing with that 1 minute is giving yourself a break for a start. You've given yourself, your mind, 1 minute to pause and have a rest from all of that worrying, all of that energy that's taken up with worrying. You're just going to put that all to one side and have a break. But really importantly, also what you're doing is you're taking charge of what your mind is doing. And your mind is being told by you, it's just really weird, but your mind is being told by you what to do. And a minute can be actually a long time. So one thing I think is quite helpful to keep focused on that 1 minute is to have a word. So you might breathe in, and as you breathe out, you say a word that is helpful to you. So it could be peace, or calm, or safe, or anything, any word that is going to be meaningful to you and is going to really take you into a much more peaceful and relaxed state for the duration of the minute. And after that minute, you may go back to your worrying, okay? But I've got my second technique now to help you when you do start worrying, because also what you're doing in that minute is observing the way that your mind works. You're just taking a minute to to see what it is you're worrying about, to understand what that state is, what is the specific thing that you're worrying about. So you become a bit more observant of yourself, a bit more self-aware of what is going on in your mind. So when you do go back to your worrying, you've just got a little bit more present to, oh, I'm worrying again. Okay, and what is it that I'm worrying about this time? So your mind is endlessly creative in terms of what it can worry about, but there do tend to be some chunks of the subjects that are common worries. So I'm just going to take you through some of the common worries and see if you recognize them. And I'm going to give you an antidote to each one. So when you catch yourself in any of these worries, you can then flip it. You know, oh yeah, I know what the antidote is for this. So here we go. I'm going to flip on the screen now so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you catch yourself worrying about what other people think, and particularly what other people think of you, you can start to think about instead, well, what do I think right now? And it really helps here if you've got a clear understanding of your own values, of what you think is important, what makes a decent person. Am I sticking to those values here and now? And what's maybe the next step I can take in this situation to feel better? So am I doing good enough? If I'm trying my best and I'm sticking to my values, then that is more than good enough. So now you've caught yourself not worrying so much about what other people think, but you're really starting to get entrenched in what you think. So that's the antidote, not what other people think and worrying about that, because you can't possibly know anyway. And it's your mind sort of making up stories about what they're thinking. But what you do know and what you can sort out is what you are thinking. So that's the first antidote. The second one, an awful lot of worry is about what could happen in the future. So all of the disaster scenarios that we've been talking about are things that potentially could happen in the future. I mean, 99.9% of the time they don't happen, because although we might think we can predict the future, we actually can't. That's just our ego getting into the frame. But by shifting your focus from these disaster scenarios in the future, you can start to shift your focus to what is here, what is now, what is actually physically around me in this moment. Am I safe? How do I feel? What is present? And when you're here and now, nothing around you is an imminent threat. So you're back to this point of feeling safe. And you will always be safe in the present moment. So you can always switch out of your worrying about the future and come back to what is here and now. And thirdly, a lot of the things we worry about are things you have no control over. So the example I've got here is the weather, but you've got any number of things that you worry about, what people are going to do, what people are going to say, earthquakes, disasters, falling over. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can't control. But if you bring your mind back again, and this is sort of coming back to the here and now, but it's what can I do? What are my next steps? I can be prepared for the weather. I can be prepared for the presentation that I have to do. I can prepare myself for writing that assignment. I can prepare myself to meet this person that I haven't met before by finding out a little bit about them and finding if we've got any common ground. Lots and lots of ways that you can prepare. And that's a positive and useful activity, whereas fretting and worrying about things you can't control is not particularly useful or helpful to you, and it's just going to make you feel really anxious, and it makes you less prepared. And then fourthly, and this is the worry about our own performance, so it's focusing on the negative aspects of yourself and worrying that you're letting yourself down, worrying that you are not good enough, worrying about all of the things that you get wrong, all of the ways that you are wrong. And what I want you to do instead is to be thinking about, what are all the things you get right? What are all the values that you have? What are all of the achievements that you have made? What are all the good qualities that you possess? And I really urge you to write these down and keep them foremost in your mind, so that when you start worrying and running yourself down, you come back to this list of all of the good things that you are, and you bring that back into the forefront of your mind. And then back to me. Hi. So the third and final thing that I'm going to talk about is, if you really cannot stop yourself from worrying, and worrying does feel like it has some self-protective value, then put aside a little bit of time devoted to worrying. And again, write these worries down. So if you give yourself 15 minutes towards the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, whatever suits you, and do your worrying then, and write down all of the things that you're worried about, and then put that to one side. And then for the rest of your day, come back to the other techniques of taking a pause when you catch yourself worrying outside of your allotted time, and looking out for the worries that pop into your head, because they will keep coming. And there's no shame in that. We all worry, but it's just managing to get control of those by putting into place those antidotes. And your mind is endlessly creative in the things that it can worry about. And your mind is endlessly creative in the antidotes that you can come up with too. Okay, so that's the end of my talk on worrying. And I think this is really important. It's not the sort of thing people talk about. And if you know people who you think would benefit, share the video, and like and subscribe if you do like. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time.